The time is now 5:52 on this Wednesday morning, and here's what you need to know before you go.
A judge has ruled former state senator Justin Eichhorn will stay in jail amid new allegations that he tried to obstruct the FBI's investigation. The Grand Rapids man is facing federal charges after he was arrested in Bloomington last week, accused of trying to meet up with who he thought was a 17-year-old for sex. And as we first reported on Monday, prosecutors moved to block Eichhorn's release to a halfway house. That's after court documents show FBI agents found a gun in his St. Paul apartment after he said he didn't have one. And jail call records indicate he tried to get someone to remove his laptop before it could be searched. Eichhorn is now expected to stay behind bars through his trial. There will be another court hearing later today.
If you've drove on a toll road in the Twin Cities lately, there's a scam to look out for. The scam involves easy pass lanes and are found in the Twin Cities area, which allow people to access an extra lane of traffic for a price. Authorities say the scam text going around suggests you use that lane but didn't pay. It contains a link to a website urging you to make a payment or verify information. Authorities say you should not do any of that. They advise contacting your local law enforcement office about it. Authorities say legitimate toll payment notifications will not come via unsolicited text messages.
Recreational pot sales are a step closer to becoming reality in Minnesota. Yesterday, the Office of Cannabis Management announced it submitted its proposed rules for governing legal cannabis. An administrative law judge is now looking over those rules. They have 14 days to approve with changes, or disapprove. If approved, the state agency can begin issuing cannabis business licenses.
The St. Louis County Board is considering issuing $45 million in bonds to fund the construction of the new St. Louis County Central Range Transportation Building. It would go up in Balkan Township, just east of Chisholm. According to the county, the building would provide its Public Works Department with space to improve effectiveness and services. The $45 million would be paid over 20 years using revenue from the county's half-cent transportation sales tax. The board will hold a public hearing on the project and some other items on April 15th.
A large crowd gathered Tuesday morning outside of the EPA lab in Duluth, protesting the threat of its closure. While there's still no official word on the lab's fate in the midst of the Trump administration's federal downsizing efforts, that didn't stop hundreds of people from coming out. A New York Times article published last week regarding planned cuts to the EPA's Research and Development Office first sparked worry about the Great Lakes Toxicology and Ecology Division here in Duluth. The lab was founded in the 60s to predict and assess the effects of pollutants on freshwater in the United States.
Part of the charm of the historic West Duluth Memorial Day Parade is the uplifting music provided by local marching bands. But this year, though, things might be a lot quieter on Grand Avenue. So far, no high school marching band have signed up for the parade, though several have been invited. Duluth's Women of Today is the group organizing things for Memorial Day, and they are now expanding their search to college bands. If you are interested in getting your marching band into the Duluth Memorial Day Parade, we've got a link to sign up on our website.
And we're looking at a pretty nice day.